You are now entering the sector of the Emerald Enthusiast. Clearance has been granted.
What's up, Lantern fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, the co-host of the Emerald Echo podcast, here with this John Stewart action figure comparison video. So with John getting renewed focus by being the titular character in the new Green Lantern title from DC Comics by Jeffrey Thorne with Marco Santucci and Tom Rainey, I've gotten an increase in questions from collectors who say, what's the best John Stewart figure to get if, say, I'm, building an overall DC characters collection, or I'm building a Green Lantern Corps and I just need one, or perhaps I'm, building a Justice League. So I thought I'd answer that question by comparing the figures that are on the market and doing so in a much more abbreviated fashion than I usually do, since I usually go into detail for like 6 to 10 minutes on a figure. I'm just going to give you the basics, and hopefully you find this video useful. So let's start with the Justice League animated figure options. Of course, you do have the option of the old toy line that was about 4.5 inches. Those were more toy-like. They had much less articulation than something like this. It was more kid-centric as opposed to collector-centric. I actually did do recently a more detailed video on this guy. You can still get this guy for around $20, so if you're really looking for a Justice League animated figure, this is a good option. This is the DC Collectibles Justice League John Stewart. Doesn't come with any accessories. That was one of my criticisms in the video, but overall a good paint job. Much more articulation than you would expect, much more so obviously than the old toy line. Again, good paint job, nice and tight. Now, again, you're dealing with the animated series, so you're going to be looking at possibly over time, if you take this figure out, maybe the legs buckling because of the design of the figure. If you were to pick one of these up, you could definitely feel how top-heavy this is. But this figure, it has the look of the first 2 seasons, when John had hair. And again, overall, a nice figure. You can get it for about $20. So between the two options, I do believe that the McFarlane is better, and we'll have a look at that in just a second. But this is a good figure, and again, you can still pick it up for retail price. So here we see the McFarlane John Stewart Justice League animated series figure, and of course this is based on the Justice League Unlimited seasons, the last 2 seasons where he was bald with the goatee. This one does come with accessories, as you can see. It does not come with this, by the way, this lantern base. This is obviously DC Direct if you know about your figures. I just put this here because, again, much like the other figure, I worry about, the legs buckling over time, and I wanted to make him more sturdy. This has better articulation overall, as you can see. You get articulation in the torso. You also get these butterfly joints, which does give it a little bit of a look because you see that, the green and then the black and then the green. But, you do get this headset accessory as well as this, construct gun, minigun type of thing. So, yeah, this is clearly a superior figure to the DC Collectibles one, although I do say I prefer the DC Collectibles paint job. But another aspect of this right now is I'm hearing collectors say that they're seeing this figure and some of the early McFarlane figures discounted now because there are several waves of McFarlane that have come out, and the early waves that stores are trying to get rid of them. So, and I'm seeing online them going for retail price, around $20, maybe $20 plus shipping. But again, if you're a big fan of the Justice League animated series and that's what you want to commemorate, then I would go for this one, because I think you'll be more satisfied when it comes to this as opposed to the DC Collectibles one. So here we have the Mezco John Stewart, and you might be surprised that I didn't put this in my top 3, because at the end I'm going to do my top 3. this one is not cheap. I see it going for around $75 online. It does have a lot of positives. If I got the box out and showed you all of the constructs, first of all, it would make the video very long. I don't want to do that. But this is the only one that features cloth. So it definitely does feel more like a 6-inch hot toy than the others. Now, the uniform here is very stylized, as you can see. It's I don't know, almost like a Zubaz uniform look. So you may or may not like that. I mean, that's to your taste. I don't mind it because, again, I'm always looking for different looking figures. But as far as a definitive Jon Stewart costume, I definitely don't think you can say that about this piece. Now, the articulation is amazing, as you would expect, because, again, this is more of an upscale elite figure. And if you want to do a lot of posing, you can. I would be careful. I'd worry about the paint kind of, chipping off the uniform over time. You do get a nice power battery that comes with little batteries that helps it light up. This base is actually part of it, and you can get a base, like you can see it back there, the very back here, a base like this that's a flight stand. And so there's a lot of things that come with this that are very positive. I really like this like starburst construct here. That's one of my favorite things about this figure. So again, I like this, but you're going to be paying a premium for it. So I think for a lot of collectors, the fact that it's stylized with the uniform and the fact that it's around $75, that's going to turn some people off. But again, if you're looking for, let's say you're a Hot Toys collector or you like collecting, the Mezco, you're not going to be disappointed in this at all. So here we have the DC Collectibles Icons Mosaic Jon Stewart. Now, it does have a couple drawbacks, although there's a lot to like about it. As you can see, a lot of articulation with this figure, and the paint job is just exquisite. Let me turn this around here for you and show you how well that is done. I mean, it just looks really good. So if you're a Mosaic fan or a Green Lantern fan, I would definitely pick this up. However, I think it's a little bit scarce. From what I've seen, it's going for about $50 online. Not easy to pick up at a good bargain price. I will say there's a lot of positives to it. And again, someday I'm going to get another one and do a more detailed review, something much more comprehensive. It does have a lot of accessories, including arms that pop off that give you an alternate set that gives you that kind of rolled up sleeve look that he had in Mosaic. Good personal power battery, lots of articulation. Let me give you a close-up here. Now, the head sculpt, this is an older-looking Jon, so that may be to your taste as far as whether you want him looking, like he's in his prime or he's a little bit older. But I do like this figure a lot. Again, I'm looking for a second one. But this guy also won't scale perfectly with other, like, 6-inch lines. He's not that much shorter, but the body mold, as you can see, it's much smaller. So unless you're getting the DC Icons line specifically, you may want to steer clear of this guy. But again, if you're a Mosaic fan, I would definitely pick this up. Speaking of Mosaic, the DC Universe Classics line did do a Mosaic-inspired costume. You can see that figure here. This is part of the Green Lantern's Light 5-pack, so the pricing, I've seen it, it's really erratic. I can definitely say that you're not going to get it for like $25, but I can't exactly tell you how well you'll do as far as picking one of these up. And, it may depend on condition, how you see the paint job and things like that. But because it was an exclusive to that 5-pack, sometimes I've seen it go for pretty hefty prices. But I definitely do like this figure. I would say this is close to the top 3. I didn't put it in my top 3. But if you're a fan of Mosaic, if you like the DC Universe Classics line, this is a really good-looking figure. It does come with a personal power battery. That's in the Green Lantern's Light 5-pack. Of course, there's all the articulation that you get with the DCUC line. Ring looks pretty good. I really like the head sculpt. This is one of the best Jon Stewart head sculpts in my opinion. It really captures, I think, his personality well. So this is one that, again, if you decide to get this one, you may be hunting a little while to find one at a decent price at least. And plus, like I said, being an exclusive to that 5-pack, and again, the Green Lanterns Light 5-pack, if you're going to get that in the box, you're going to pay over $100. So tracking this guy down may not be easy. But again, if you're a fan of Mosaic, if you like this specific costume to that particular comic, yeah, I would go ahead and pick this guy up. So here we have a really exquisite figure from DC Collectibles, and I would probably rank this guy at number 4. There's a lot to like about this figure. This is from the Justice League 6.75-inch line. And as you can see, the paint job, first of all, the choice of paint, the metallic green. I've always preferred metallic green for Green Lantern figures because it projects the idea of energy better than the matte coloring. The body mold on this is great. You can see there's a lot of definition in the torso there, great definition in the legs. And, you know, head sculpt is really good. There is one drawback, potentially a drawback that I'll get to in just a second. But as you can see here, I mean, this really has John looking big and bulky. And, you know, if you think about John in the comics, he's usually portrayed as kind of the biggest of the titular lanterns. You know, he's a bigger guy, stronger guy, ready to rumble even without his ring. So, now, I will say this, it does not come with the base. Obviously, I added that as I did with the personal power battery here. Doesn't come with any accessories, so that's a disappointment. And the other thing, this may be something that you like. It may be something that you dislike. This figure has the all green eyes. Let me see if I can get a good shot of it here. I don't mind that as far as having a different figure. He also has some really big eyebrows, so you may or may not like that. I don't mind the all green eyes. I would have liked just kind of touches of white around, you know, the edges of the eyes. But that may be something that turns you off since, again, it's kind of stylized to the energy. I mean, that's going to be something that is to your taste. But I will say this. This guy, I think, is only about $25 now. He hasn't gone up in the way that, like, the Icons figure has. So definitely a good value. So if you see one of these for, you know, $25, maybe $30, and you're looking for a good John Stewart figure, this one definitely has a lot of positives to it. A lot of good articulation. A little bit taller than like the DC Universe Classics line, so he might not scale well with that. But I think he would scale well with the McFarlane line. So here we have the Mattel DC Multiverse John Stewart. Now, this guy has positives and negatives. First of all, he does have great articulation. He will scale well with the DC Universe Classics line. However, I mean, this guy looks much younger than we're used to seeing John Stewart. He's got a more slender body mold. And as you can see here, I don't know, he looks like he's about 18. So that may be a turnoff for some people if you're looking for like a definitive John Stewart figure. He does not come with the lantern. What he does come with, there's 2 alternate hands. And there is the left hand here that you can, you know, instead of the gripping hand. And you also get this for the ring hand over here, the right hand. You know, it's like the power just starting to come out of the ring. So I do appreciate that. You know, it's a good paint job. Now, the symbol is just paint. I always prefer raised symbols. But overall, there's a lot to like about this figure. But again, because of how John's age comes across, I mean, that's going to be to your taste. So the DC Multiverse line, unfortunately, a lot of these figures have become rare too. The Jessica figure is like off the chart. Like I see it selling for like $80. Jessica Cruz, I mean. John, I'm seeing sell for about $40. So again, this is a good figure. If you have a DC Classics line and you want a John Stewart to fit in with that, this may be something that you get to complete that line. But, you know, again, with John looking, you know, so young here, that may be a turnoff for you. But overall, I do like this effort from Mattel. So before I get into my top three, just a word on a couple of other figures that I only have packaged ones. This is the Total Heroes John Stewart. This was a Matty Collector exclusive, if memory serves. I've had it for a while. This is, even though it says adult collector here, it's more kid-centric as far as the design of the figure. As you can see, a little bit more cartoonish, although you do get the Green Man head and the Tomar Ray head, so that definitely is a positive. And as you can see, you get interchangeable hands, you get 4 different constructs, which is why I have this figure. Yeah, I definitely like the overall packaging of this, and at some point I'm going to get a second one and do a more detailed review on that. Now this guy, again, I'm seeing, I guess, around $40, and I can't see a collector, unless you are someone like me who just collects all things Green Lantern, someone who is looking to build a set of DC figures or Justice League figures or Green Lantern Corps. I don't see this figure being the definitive John Stewart figure. Now, again, as a Green Lantern collector, I really do like it, and I hope to get not only a second one, but maybe someday get enough to where I can do a core with the different heads. So I do like this figure. Again, if you see it at a good price, if you see one, say, for $25 or $30, I'd go ahead and pick it up because it's not easy to find. But I definitely don't see, collectors looking at this figure and saying, yes, that's the best John Stewart figure. Now, here we have an interesting figure. This is the DC Direct Blackest Night John Stewart figure. Now, a lot of big positives and a few big negatives on this figure. First of all, pricing. When I see this guy these days, it's almost always upwards of $50. You're not going to get this guy for under that unless you find a loose one. And, another aspect of this figure, I do like the packaging. I do like his personal power battery, and this is where a lot of those bases that I have here comes from. It's this line. Good packaging, will look nice sitting on your shelves. But this guy, the articulation is a little suspect. First of all, a lot of people tell me that when you get one of these, it's pretty tight, and I don't know how well I can pick up on this. And the hip area, it looks a little weird, and people say that he doesn't kick forward very well, that he's hard to get into a good action position. That if you just vanilla pose the guy, he looks really good. As you can see here, a lot of good paint, solid application there with the symbol, although it's not raised. I would have preferred that. Head sculpt looks pretty good, It's not the best, but looks pretty good. So again, this is a nice figure, and again, someday I intend to get a second one and do a review on that. But again, for the pricing and for the limited articulation, some collectors may be turned off by that. But this definitely is a solid figure. So let's talk about the DC Universe Classics Wave 11. That's the Kilowog Wave John Stewart figure. This is one of my favorites. Now, it does not come with this flight base. Again, that's from Mezco. That's an extra one that I purchased. I've been collecting Green Lantern collectibles for a very long time, and I like to get kind of extra things like that for certain figures. I really like this figure. It does not come with a personal power battery. Now, that is a drawback. It does have another accessory. There is a gun accessory that goes over the arm, but I really like this big fist accessory. Even though I associate that more with Hal Jordan, I just like the way it looks. I mean, it's different. I really think it's cool, and you even have this little effect here, the molding here, to make it look like it's energy popping out with the fist. Just really like how that looks. As you can see, the body mold is done well. The articulation, everything you would expect with the DC Universe Classics line. And much like the Mosaic figure, it's the same head sculpt, which I just think is just close to perfect. This is more of the costume that I think everyone kind of associates with John Stewart. This is, the modern costume that we see him in several of the series, as well as, this is what they used, the model that they used for the Justice League animated cartoon, this type of costume. I just really like how this looks. I mean, this, To me, there's not a lot of drawbacks here. When I think about Jon Stewart figures, this is one that definitely comes to mind. Not cheap, unfortunately. Now, I do intend at some point to get a second one mint on card and do a more detailed, a more comprehensive review someday. But this is the only one that I have right now. Actually, I do have a second loose one. I take that back. But I don't have one mint on card. So, again, if you find one mint on card, you're probably going to pay $50 or more for it. But as far as having a definitive Jon Stewart, this is one of the candidates for that. So if you have a 6-inch line, the DC Multiverse line, or of course the DC Universe Classics line, I would definitely try to find one of these guys because I think you're going to be very pleased with this figure. So here we have the Neca 2-pack exclusive Green Lantern, and this is actually both Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. It's got interchangeable heads. Now, there's a lot of things to like about this. You'll notice first off, this is a 7-inch figure, and the body mold, if you want a big, muscular, chiseled Jon Stewart, this is the figure for you. As you can see, we turn around here, you see the lats and the delts and the trapezius. This figure's huge. And you can feel the weight of it if you pick it up. So, and I also love this accessory, this ring blast here. And this is the only figure that has something like that. There are some other accessories, and I'll show you that just in a minute because I do have one mint in packaging. But this Jon Stewart, there's a lot to like about this. This looks very realistic, very muscular. The power battery here now, it's not the greatest. It's a little thin. The handle's really kind of wiry, and I definitely don't like that. But this is one of those figures that, if you see it at a good price, which you probably won't, this is one you want to pick up because it just looks, the detail is just really amazing. And someday I'm going to do a more detailed review of this figure. Now, this is a Jon Stewart that's been through the battles. This looks like about a 50-year-old Jon Stewart. So depending on how you feel about Jon's age, again, that may influence your decision on this figure. The other thing I want to say is when you find this figure, and again, it'll probably be Jon and with a Hal Jordan sculpt or a Hal Jordan, with the Jon Stewart head off of it. I usually see it around $75, and that's for a loose one. If you find the mint and package one, and that will be with the Sinestro Core Predator, and I'll show you that in just a second, you're probably going to pay $125, possibly more. And they are they were very limited edition, and I do see them kind of vanishing off the internet a little bit. So if you want this figure, I would pursue it now. If this is one who really strikes your fancy, I would try to go ahead and pick that up. I would definitely think that it is worth it. Even with the slight criticisms I have of it, I definitely like this Jon Stewart figure. So when you talk about definitive Jons, I would put this one in that class. So let me apologize for the lighting over here, but this is part of a big setup anyway. So here's the Jon Stewart head. There's the Hal head. And again, it just pops off onto the body there. You see the different constructs that you get. There's the personal power battery as well as the interchangeable hands. This is with the Sinestro Core Predator there. This is my Sinestro shelf for right now. So this is what you're looking for. This is the NECA 7-inch 2-pack. So again, not easy to find and not easy to find loose. So now is an outstanding time to be a Jon Stewart fan. If you want a good Jon Stewart figure, I actually did a review on this. You can look that up in my videos. This guy, again, the price has not exploded. He's still around. In fact, you may be able to find him in stores for retail price. You may just be able to find him for $20. But most of the time I see him just a little over retail, selling online. And there's so much to like about this guy. Now, there's no personal power battery. I do have a little issue with that. But you can see from this one here, all the accessories that you get that card in the back, and the face, the head sculpt is just amazing. It's Jon at about, I'd say, 30, 31, the way that I usually think about Jon. You actually get that base right there. This armor, again, this goes over the figure that is detachable, as well as, this the backpack piece here. This minigun, exquisitely done. I actually asked for a friend if he found another one, because I really want one without all this to display as well. That's how much I like this figure. So if you want to check out more details, check out my previous video on this. But I want to reiterate, if you're a Jon Stewart fan, now's a good time. Not only do you have this figure on the market that's easy to get, very high quality, but you've got a great comic book coming out with Jon Stewart as the focus from DC Comics. It'll be issue number 5 in a couple of weeks, so it's easy to pick up and start. So there is my answer as far as, what's the definitive Jon Stewart figure. I would say either this one, possibly the Neca, or the DC Universe Classics one right there. So those would be my top 3. But as far as all factors considered, in particular the price, I would go with this guy if you can find him. Now's a good time to go ahead and lock one of these in. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. If so, please like and subscribe. I really do appreciate everyone following me, as well as follow me on the Multiverse Musings podcast network. We're right here on YouTube. That's the Multiverse Musings vidcast. Subscribe to us over there. You can also catch the Emerald Echo podcast, available on iTunes and Podbean. We also have a version right here on YouTube. And I'll be back to the internet with more Green Lantern content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, reminding you to always be kind to your neighbor, and thanks for watching.